The Holy Quran mentions about Ashabul Shimal wa ma Ashabul Shimal. Group of people, after categorizing, As-Sabiqun, the foremost, and Ashabul Yamin, those that are the companions of the right, that will get their book of deeds and from the right hand. Quran talks about those that are doomed. Ashabul Mash'ama and also as Ashabul Shimal. And this Ashabul Shimal, it mentions that fi samum wa hamim wa dhillim min yahmum. They will be in scorching fire, scalding water. La baradin wa la kareem. That's neither, the shade is neither cool nor beneficial. But the reason for this punishment and from boiling water and the heat of hell, that we seek Allah for us to be repelled from and to be saved from, says, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا قَبْلَ ذَلِكَ مُتْرَفِينَ. That indeed they were before indulging in affluence. Mutrafin means a person that has abundance. But the question that rises is that, does this mean that everyone that is going to go to hell was rich, had a lot, and they didn't give, and therefore they went to hell? So this wouldn't make too much logical sense. So scholars like Allama Tabatabai, Ayatollah Karim Shirazi, when it comes to mutrafin and those that are affluent, they say that this word, actually when you dissect it, it comes with about anyone that has a blessing from God. They take a wider definition. Not, money and wealth is one blessing of God and they didn't use it correctly. They use it in a way that they neglected from God. They forgot about God. But also there's other blessings. For example, comfort. A person can be mutrafin and can be in so much comfort and ease that this comfort and ease causes them to lose the path, to be neglectful of Allah. So when we look at the time period of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, we see that this holy lady lived actually in a time period where there was lots of bounties in Medina. The Prophet for 23 years worked very hard and was extremely successful in what he did in terms of military power, economic power, religion, spirituality, knowledge. Successful. They have the Holy Quran, the miracle of Allah. So the people of Medina are blessed with everything they want, comfort, ease, religion, everything they had. But what happens after Rasulullah passes away? And the fact that instead of using these blessings and these ni'mas in the proper path to follow the line of the Prophet of Islam, which was Ali ibn Abi Talib, to follow Sayyidah Fatima, they used those bounties in the wrong way. They used those bounties to harm the daughter of Rasulullah. They used those bounties that they had to open the door of Sayyidah Fatima, to attack her house, to set fire to her house, and to crush her between the door and the wall. Brothers and sisters, we are in the same way witness that many times Allah has given us blessings, and that instead of using this ni'mah and blessing in the path of God, we have used it in a way either against or we have forgotten to use it properly. And instead of this blessing causing me to get closer to God, this ni'mah causing me to be closer to God, it has caused me to get farther away from Him. Now, Hajj Ibrahim gave a great presentation about our duty as Muslims, and that we have blessings and we have different ni'mas. And Allah tests us during times of comfort, and Allah tests us in the time of pain and distress, to see what will you do. How will you help out? I said this before, I say it again. Sheikh Murtada Ansari, one of our great scholars and jurists, said that you're either a scholar, you should either be a scholar and study religion, or you should be a supporter of the Hawza. You should choose one of these two. Either you should be a scholar or a supporter of the Hawza or the Islamic masjid, the masjids, the Islamic centers. So when we look at the duties that we have and the test that Allah gives us, we see that we are having a long-term plan. And I want you to think, where will we be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if we don't work hard purchasing a building and securing a building for ourselves? What will our children say? And how hard would it be for them 10 years from now, 20 years from now to do this? So what we learn from, the verses of Quran is that we need to make sure that those ni'mas that Allah has given us, either God has given you wealth, God has given you honor, people trust you, or God has given you speech, God has given you different friendship and charm, as most people here are, mashallah, charming, that you have this responsibility to go out and help. Because, I have been with this community with Yasin before Yasin was even Yasin. And I will tell you for myself, even though the credibility of the board, of brothers like Hajj Kauthar, and the board, it's higher than my credibility. But I'll tell you, if you're looking for a group of, young people or mid-aged people that are working hard, sincerely, not wanting anything of this dunya, not wanting power, just wanting to serve, this is a great opportunity for you to work for them and to help out. And this is part of the long-term goals that we have. They ask about, for example, what do you do about Palestine? And we have short-term political activities or political movements that we have. Or we have discussions in masjids, or we have awareness that we're bringing about Palestine. That is short-term. But if you want to do something for the oppressed, you have to think of the long-term. And the place that will be able to change people's opinions, place that can bring people towards justice, is the center. Because a strong center will give us the tools that we need in order to defend and be an advocate for the madhlumeen and the oppressed, in order to educate people, in order to reach and have a better reach in our community, in the country that we live in. Because as you know, individually you cannot do it. We have power collectively together. So this is one of the issues that first I wanted to bring up, is that we need to work hard this month of November that's ending in December. And we need to push ourselves. And everyone, alhamdulillah, the trustees have been having meetings after meetings for securing a place that we will be, inshallah, pioneers in spreading the message of Ahlul Bayt. And at one time, eventually, when the world will become Muslim and the Imam will come back, they will say, these were the pioneers. They spread the name of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam in this part of the country. They spread the Quran. And they gave whatever, Allah gave them, from honor to wealth. And they purchased, for example, this building, and their names, we might be in the graves, but we'll keep getting reward over and over and over, because it's a part of Baqiyatul Salihat. It's continual reward for us. So I want to take you back to Ayyam of Fatimiyyah, to say that the Mutrafin during that time, when they had blessings, they had Ali ibn Abi Talib, they had Seyed Fatimah. What other blessings do you want? The Quran came. They had Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. And instead, they turned their backs. Sometimes you have Christians, like George Jordan, talk about Imam Ali alayhi salam and say that if God took away all of the blessings of the world and gave one more Ali ibn Abi Talib, it would be worth it. He's Christian. But for himself, he knows Ali ibn Abi Talib. And he knows that what Imam Ali can do for the world. So dear brothers and sisters, while we are thinking of this Ayyam of Fatimiyyah and thinking how a group of individuals had so much blessings and they turned their backs and that ni'mah became niqmah, damnation for themselves. We also want to make sure that at the same time we are filling our own duties in life. And if we are not scholars, or if we're not studying, then we are working and we're supporting Islam through the money and work that we have, or through the different, factors that we can help Islam. Fadak was a test for Medina, the property of Fadak, a very large property, a property that could fund wars. So when they came to take it from, first of all, when the Prophet gave it to Sayyidah Fatima, he gifted Fadak after the battle of Khaybar, and the Quran mentions, this verse. There, Rasulullah presented Sayyidah Fatima with this huge, vast capital land. And the people of Medina at that time, after the battle of Khaybar, they weren't necessarily that rich. They weren't necessarily that well off. So it came in their mind, wait a minute, and this was a test of God. Why is Rasulullah giving such a large amount of wealth to his daughter? So it bothered them naturally. The second thing that bothered is that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam now has this economic tool and can fund, because we need obviously money to be able to fund. And now Ahlul Bayt, the family of the Prophet, has a large amount of land in produce from this land that can be a great economic tool. So they tried to shut down and take away Fadak. And Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam gave a speech in the masjid, and was one of the great speeches that is recorded in Balaghatun Nisa. And there she exposes those that stole the truth, that stole Fadak from her. After multiple times of them entering and attacking and threatening the house of Imam Ali and Sayyidah Fatima, eventually from these attacks she is wounded. And as we read last night, that her unborn son Muhsin becomes martyred. And slowly Sayyidah Fatima becomes more frail and is more saddened and saddened. As Shaykh Abbas al-Qumi has the book Baytul Ahsan, the house of sorrows. And she has a house for herself that she is worshiping God and crying and crying. She is one of the main people that cried in history. Did she cry for her own injuries, I ask you? And you see the traditions, he says, Dhulmul Wasi. I'm crying, my karb, my difficulty is from two things. Two things they came to her because she could not sleep. It was so hard for her. Says, what happened to you? She says two things. Faqdun Nabi, the Prophet is not here anymore. And Dhulmul Wasi, and that the Wasi, the successor of the Prophet, has been oppressed. So she cried over and over because of this dhulm, because she knew what would happen to the world. And if we had that vision, and if we were there, we would cry until the Day of Judgment. That Ali alayhi salam, God give Imam Ali to lead the world, to take the world, how we have narrations that Imam Mahdi will do this. Imam Ali would have done the same thing. He would have removed injustice throughout the entire world. He would have removed poverty. He would have left people in comfort. And this is the second speech that she has, that is just different speeches, but the second popular speech to the ladies of Ansar and to the ladies of the Muhajirin that we're going to be analyzing the next 2 nights. That she gives a vivid and clear depiction of how life would be if they followed Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Jafar. Shaykh Tabarsi in Ihtijaj brings that the ladies of Ansar come and Muhajirin. They come to Sayyidah Fatima when she is injured. And this is towards the last part of her life, you could imagine. And they ask her, كيف أصبحت من علتك يا بنت رسول الله? How are you? Asbahta means how do you wake up? How are you now? With this illness, with this sickness that we say is caused from the injuries. How are you doing, O daughter of the Messenger of Allah? And with someone with broken ribs, someone with an arm that is bruised, a head that is bruised. Even some of the books have eye that is injured. Says, فَحَمِدَتْ Allah, she does hamd of Allah. وَصَلَّتْ عَلَىٰ أَبِيهَا, you mentioned Rasulullah, she does, salat on the Prophet, salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And she says this, أَسْبَحْتُ وَاللَّهِ عَائِفَةً لِدُنْيَاكُنَّ قَائِلَةً لِرِجَالِكُنَّ. By Allah, I am waking up. I have come to this state by resenting your world. I resent your world. How are you? They say. She says, Alhamdulillah, salat on the Prophet. I resent your world. And detesting your men. And I hate your men. Brothers and sisters, I think now is a good time to understand Fatimiyyah, because for the last about 40 days, we have seen children, from 15,000 innocent people being, bombed in Palestine, in Gaza, 25 miles long, 5 miles wide, for example. Almost two nuclear bombs worth of munitions dropped, 50% of homes destroyed, 6,000 children killed, 4,000 women. And we see this world that we live in, and we say we detest the world because we see, oppression, and we can't do anything about it. As we said, one of the shuyukh said, if you talk to me about human rights, I will throw my shoe at you. Because this entire human rights that has been made by the West and defined by the West, and what is for example, a war crime, is happening over and over and over. Nobody's doing anything about it. So I want you, now that you have seen oppression and dhulm and happen, I want you to take this little taste of dhulm and to see how Sayyidah Fatima is seeing the dhulm of herself, the dhulm that happened to Ali ibn Abi Talib, that his hands, who was the wasi, 100 days after Ghadir, his hands are tied, being dragged in the streets of Medina. So she says, I'm detested by your men because nobody is doing anything. I have cast them away after testing them. Sayyidah Fatima says about the people of Medina, I have cast them away after testing them and hated them after examining them. This is the case of a person who has blessings and ni'mas and uses them in the wrong way and oppresses others. Thus, away with the men of playing after seriousness. People are taking religion as a joke. They're playing with religion when they were serious during the time of the Prophet. But now it's about play. Play is when you do things for the world, for amusement, for the nafs. Striking the soft rocks, slackening the spears, the foolishness of judgments, and deviation of fancies. In this speech, she begins to talk about why these ladies that came to visit her, she tells them, وَمَا الَّذِي نَغِمُوا مِنْ أَبِي الْحَسَنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. Then why did they deny, what did they deny from Imam Ali, from Abu al-Hasan? نَغَمُوا مِنْهُ وَاللَّهِ نَكِيرَ صَيْفِهِ. Yes, they denied the beating of his sword. Why did they deny Ali ibn Abi Talib? Why did they not give the Khilafat to him? Why they didn't allow him to rule? Did they deny the beating of his sword? وَقِلَّةِ مُبَالَاتِهِ بِحَتْفِ, in his carelessness, not caring about death. How Imam Ali alayhi salam has been mentioned to say, does not make a difference for me if I go towards death or death goes towards me. It does not make a difference. What did they deny from Ali? His deadly assaults and his anger for the sake of Allah. By Allah, now she is explaining to the world and for history to know what they have missed out and how would it have been. And we always want to imagine in our minds, what would happen if Ali ibn Abi Talib ruled immediately? Now some say, well, he did rule, which was about 25 years later. But we can say this, that he ruled as a Khalifa. They didn't understand him and believe in him as an Imam. And that was after years later, not right after the Prophet. So what would happen if the people followed Imam Ali and served him as an Imam? It's different than when you say one is your political, for example, ruler, and one is the Imam who is al-mafrud or ta'ah. The ta'ah of him is wajib. By Allah, if they turned away from the rain, if they let the government go, which the Prophet had handed over to Imam Ali, he would catch it dearly and he would move without harm or worry. So this is the first aspect that we look at the dawla of Imam Ali alayhi salam. وَحَمَلَهُمْ عَلَيْهَا وَلَصَارَبَهُمْ سَيْرًا سُجَهًا, that he would take the Khilafat, he would take the government and he would take it in a way without harm or worry. Take it with complete comfort. So the first aspect that we understand is that the government of Imam Ali alayhi salam would have been one with comfort, have one with ease. And we see that ease is something good. Ease is actually not something that we always have to live in hardship. Ease is a blessing of Allah. So the first quality of Imam Ali's government is ease and comfort. Brothers and sisters, when you look at our religion, you see that, alhamdulillah, we do have a religion of ease and comfort. And everything and all the instructions that are in this beautiful religion are to make our lives easier and better. And you notice that the more taqwa you have, the more piety you have, the easier your life becomes, actually. Look at, those that are young here, and that you have all these temptations in front of you, all this haram that's happening. And God forbid someone just lets go and says, I'll do whatever my desires want me to do, whatever my nafs wants. All they're doing is harming themselves and being in discomfort and being in addiction. But when you have taqwa, when you help yourself to get rid of all these temptations, to get rid of anything that can drag you down, then you're going to live the best life. You're going to enjoy your life. You're going to live a comfortable life. Because all of this instruction that Allah gives us is for our maslahat, for our good. For example, when Allah, teaches you to have taqwa when it comes to relationships, you cannot harm yourself. You get, say, if you want to have a relationship, you get married, you get to have marriage. And then you're married, then your heart will not be broken. You will not be, going into different, issues that all the other youth are drowning in. You have a halal relationship, you have a halal marriage. Or when it comes, for example, to different types of food that is haram. And you see the danger in these types of foods that exist, or these intoxicants, beverages that are haram, and how dangerous it is. And one of the leading causes of accidents that are fatal is drinking and driving. You see that Allah has placed this religion for us to make us, in a way, comfortable, to make us at ease, to give us a good life. Many times when we explain this beautiful religion to people, we say it has so many instructions, but you should tell them that it has so much benefit. And all of these instructions is to live a healthy, wholesome, pious life. that you have dignity, you have a reputation, you have honor, you have izzah, you have strength. This is what it's building. And when you look at people in our lives, and I'm sure you've seen, that people that have really taken their religion seriously, they live the best of lives. They have dunya and they have akhirah. And when they don't have any attachments to this world, nothing can knock them down. You've seen recently, in these bombardments, and you've seen, in social media, then some that their child is lost. And it's devastating. But what helps them is their taqwa, that they can be able to disattach themselves from the world, from attachments to anything that is in this world. And they only have reliance on Allah. You cannot ever bring such a person down. You don't see, for example, when these things are happening, people losing faith. You're actually saying that faith is helping them. As Imam Ali alayhi salam mentioned, protect your faith, and your taqwa will protect you. And your taqwa for you will be a place that you can always have comfort in, that you'll miss your attachments, you'll be disattached to everything but Allah, and you'll be in a way invincible. So the first thing that we see that Imam Ali alayhi salam would take them to comfort without harm. And he would not be extreme to them. We see that those that left the path of Imam Ali, they left in deviation, doing extreme things like the Khawarij that happened after Imam Ali. How extreme were they? Or today we see groups of Muslims in the name of Islam, how extreme they are. But this is a religion of balance. Actually, we have narrations to talk about al-iqtisad fil ibadat. Iqtisad doesn't mean economy here. Iqtisad means a balance, limiting yourself to worship. That actually true. We have a beautiful religion that tells us sometimes don't worship. Not the wajib worship. Don't say tonight Seyed came and said you don't have to do salat, for example, when you don't feel like it. No, wajib worship. Mustahab worship, recommended worship. When your heart has two sides, it wants to do worship, mustahab, recommended worship. Sometimes it kind of wants to relax. In this chapter of hadith, it talks about al-iqtisad fil ibadah. Don't overdo it. Don't over dua. It can be dangerous if a person ODs over du'as, for example. Especially if they have a drive home, for example, and they're just doing du'as all the time. To limit it. And to look at worship in a balanced way, in a good way. So you see that also we have traditions about taking and having a hobby, for example. Dividing your time with worship, dividing your time with studying, dividing your time with different aspects of human life, and having a time for a hobby that is halal, that you like, enjoy. That is your free time. We even have narrations like this. What a beautiful and easy religion. That you're allowed to have hobbies, you're allowed to do things that you like. But all of this is meant for us, that haram is meant to take us away from mafsada and corruption. And you have seen those that have the highest of taqwa, they are away from corruption. Of this comfort that Imam Ali alayhi salam, we'll talk a bit about worldly benefit, probably tomorrow. That Imam Ali alayhi salam mentioned, Sayyid Fatima mentions that he would give you prosperity too. He would make them satiated in a way, and that they would have whatever they wanted. But Imam Ali alayhi salam would be limited, she says, in how much he would consume in this world, but they would have whatever basically they wanted. They would have the barakat of the samawati wal ard. They would have barakat and blessings. But with this comfort, I want to say this tradition is, when you look at comfort, there's another psychological component of iman and faith. And that is what happens when a person has yaqeen. What happens when a person has rida, contentment? What happens when a person is in shak, in doubt? What happens when a person is in sakhat, dissatisfaction? I'm sure all of you, as your journey, your spiritual journey, you're going on this path, you've noticed that the more you worship Allah, the more serious you are about religion, you see results. And these results take you towards this journey of yaqeen and certainty. Now that you have yaqeen and certainty and you're content with whatever Allah provides for you, you see, you have ar-ruh wal-raha. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam in tradition says, tranquility and comfort, ar-ruh wal-raha fi ar-rida wal-yaqeen, is in satisfaction and certainty. Do you want comfort? Do you want tranquility? Have yaqeen, have certainty. How can I have certainty? I act upon the commands of Allah, and Allah will give me certainty. If a person truly has yaqeen, his life will be full of ruh wa raha. He'll be completely comfortable. But if a person is in shak, in doubt, in sakhat, dissatisfaction, God, why did you do this to me? God, why did you take away my money here? I'm always dissatisfied, always complaining to Allah. Then that person will have al-ham wal-huzn. They will have sorrow and they will have worry. Fi shak wa sakhat. It's in doubt and dissatisfaction. That person that doubts, why am I created? What happened? Who created me? Where am I going to go to? I never know the answer. What is the meaning of life? All of this is actually a big chastisement for a person, to always be in doubt. But that Allah has allowed you to leave doubt and to go towards certainty is actually bringing you comfort. And that is the path of Imam Ali alayhi salam, that he would take people into comfort, both a psychological comfort, both physical comfort. And inshallah in the following nights we'll talk about the fact that Imam Ali would bring the barakat. And just in the same way, if you want to analyze the government of Imam Ali, you can say it was in the same way that we analyze the government of Imam Mahdi, that it would be, heaven on earth. So this is, one of the qualities of the Alawi government, and this is, with the potential that Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam saw it, and saw that the entire world could have become guided and in comfort and in ease. Instead, we are where we are today. And Saqifa happened. Everything that we see now, those that caused this, they are responsible for it. As we have the traditions from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, that any blood that is spilled, it is because of those that have derailed, the government of Imam Ali alayhi salam. If we can dim the lights and we'll do tawassul of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. Sayyidah Fatima has a very special status. I ask you, dear brothers and sisters, to make dua for all of us. Make dua for the intentions we have to build this, inshallah, purchase this building, to make it ours, inshallah, and to make it for our future generation, inshallah. Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam is very similar to the night of Qadr, very similar to the night of destiny, the position that she has. The tradition has فَمَنْ عَرَفَ فَاطِمَةَ حَقَّ مَعْرِفَتِهَا فَقَدْ أَدْرَكَ لَيْلَةَ الْقَدْرِ. Whoever knows Fatima, how they really should know her, knows the night of destiny. How is Sayyidah Fatima like the night of destiny? The night of destiny is a night that is unknown. The night of destiny is a night that we truly cannot understand. So we can say the same thing. The position of Sayyidah Fatima is in a way so high that we are in a way incapable of truly understanding. That the reality of her lofty position is a mystery for us. Just like her grave and where she is buried is a mystery for us. Some of the Zawar that go to Medina, they say, be careful where you walk in Medina. Anywhere can be the grave of Sayyidah Fatima in Medina. Her position is majhul, is unknown for us. And her grave is also majhul and unknown. She is Laylatul Qadr because Laylatul Qadr is khayrun min alfi shahr, is better than 1,000 months. and attachment to her, just how the night of Qadr makes actions and gives them so much worth. Sayyidah Fatima, in the same way, when she is in our intentions, it exemplifies and amplifies our actions for us. It is one of the last nights of Sayyidah Fatima's life, the last time period that she will be in this world for us. Asma bint Uwais, the wife of Ja'far al-Tayyar, comes and is one of the few people that are present during the last time of her life. She hears that Sayyidah Fatima is making this dua. Remember, she is the caring mother that loved her kids but would pray for the neighbor first. There she heard this dua, that in this status that she had, with the abuse and the dhulm and the dhillah that occurred, saying, Ilahi wa Sayyidi, speaking to God in her final moments, speaking to Allah, As'aluka balladhina astafaytu, I ask Allah behalf of those that you have chosen, wa buka'a waladay fi mufaraqati, I ask Allah from those that you have chosen, and I ask Allah on behalf of the tears of my sons Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. How much will Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam will be crying when they hear that their mother has passed away? How are they going to run and tell Imam Ali alayhi salam that our mother has passed away? How will Ali ibn Abi Talib fall face first when he hears that his wife Az-Zahra has passed away? So because of these tears of Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, I ask you this was one of her last du'as. أن تغفر لعصاة الشيعة, to forgive the sins of my Shia. She doesn't make dua for the perfect Shia. She makes dua for the sinning Shia. She makes dua for the Shia that has sinned, the follower and lover of Ahlul Bayt that has made mistakes. Dear brothers and sisters, Sayyidah Fatima remembered us at the hardest of times. We have to remember her. We have to think of her. We have to spread the message of Sayyidah Fatima throughout the world during our lives, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you, because of your lofty position, to have forgiveness, inshallah, of the souls of the marhumeen and deceased. To have forgiveness, inshallah, to our marhum Muhammad Azmoon and all of your marhumeen, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to give us shifa, inshallah, to all those that are wanting to be healed and those that are sick. We ask Allah, you, because of Fatima, to help the oppressed and to give victory to those that are helping the oppressed, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you to allow us to become companions of the Imam of the age, inshallah. Oh Allah, we ask you for us to fulfill our duties completely, to give us the tawfiq, to having, inshallah, purchasing a large center that we can spread the name of your religion, inshallah. May Allah expedite the return of the Imam of the age, make of his companions. For the marhum Muhammad Azmoon's soul, let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha and Tawheed after Salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.